How are you? You're right.
Move in a little crowder, a little closer, people.
I can sing the refrain.
What time is it?
We need some help passing out song sheets here, so help us out, will you?
Yep. Hey, we got song seats. We got the Midwest Woody Guthrie with us today. So we got to have a little bit of sing-along.
Sorry. Good.
Among you are people moving around handing out sing-along sheets with other information as well. So gather one up. And we got to get going because you want to be acting your best here because we're on live TV right now at 5 o'clock. Okay? Oh, I could use one. Yeah. Okay. Everybody got a sing-along sheet? Hey, well, welcome to the Ban the Frac Sand Mining Rally sponsored by the Alliance to Ban Frac Sand Mining and Address Climate Change. I'm Ken Tschumper, and I'm the co-organizer along with my buddy over here, Doug Nopar. And just to get things off going, to get in the spirit of this being the starting point of the end of frac sand mining here in the Midwest, we're going to have our Midwest Woody Guthrie, Bob Bovee, do a few verses of This Land Is Your Land.
Woody guy.
As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me the golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of your diamond desert. All around me, a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. The sun was shining and I was strolling, with the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling. As the fog was lifting, a voice was chanting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. There was a big high wall there that tried to stop me, with a big sign saying private property. But on the other side, it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
Let's hear it for Bob Bovee one more time.
All right, Bob.
I'm Doug Nopar. Ken's supposed to be up here, but he's getting interviewed. So how about a chant? Ready for a chant? Hey, ho, frac sand mining has got to go. Hey, ho, frac sand mining has got to go. Say hey, say ho. Frac sand mining has got to go. Say hey, say ho. Frac sand mining has got to go. One more. Say hey, say ho. Frac sand mining has got to go. All right, we are fired up. Welcome back, Ken Tschumper.
Well, you are all now on live TV, or we're on live TV. So, and again at 6 o'clock. So if we stick around here enough, why? I want to say a little bit about what the message of this alliance is, but first I want to do two other things. I want to announce some really good news, some really big news. Today, the Houston County Board, of all people, of all groups, a majority voted to add to a conditional use permit for a sand mine a provision that says none of the sand coming out of that mine can be used for frac sand usage. That is essentially a de facto ban on frac sand mining, even if we have to do it one mine at a time, okay? So this is a big deal. And of course we anticipated that. That's why we had to rally today, you know. No, that isn't true at all. But I think that all the publicity we got at the press conference yesterday really helped persuade this one wayward commissioner to vote our way, which he hasn't done in the past. So this is a big deal. Secondly, we had this great press conference yesterday where we had a whole bunch of people from our alliance speak. And I'm just going to read the list of all the, I think it's about 20 groups who have joined the alliance to ban frac sand mining. Obviously, the Land Stewardship Project, LSP, Citizens Against Silica Mining, CHASM, the Coulee Region Climate Alliance, the Ho-Chunk Nation was represented here by Bill Greendeer, Houston County Protectors, the Winona Catholic Workers, the Save the Hill Alliance, the Coulee Region Sarah Club. Did I hear somebody from the Save the Hills Alliance? Okay, there you are. Sacred Water, Sacred Land. Families Against Energy Extraction. Wisconsin Resources Protection Council. Wow. Ooh. Neighbors First. Community Rights Groundwork. Those are those Viroqua people. And the Coalition to Protect New York. That's how big we're getting, okay? This is true. I got an email from this lady. Witness for Peace, Minnesota350.org, the Houston County Government Accountability Project, which is my wife here, and one very charming spokesperson. I don't know if the First Congregational Church endorsed this, but she's very active in the First Congregational Church, and she gave a really elegant speech yesterday. And then there was this group in Madison called Mama, and I'm not sure who they are, but I know they're on our side, and that's what counts, right? So this is spreading. We got a big group of people going on, and I got on the back of your sheet, I think there's a message, something. Did you put that on there, Doug? Okay. So we know the frac sand industry thinks the low oil prices are going to go up, and they're getting ready to come back into the Midwest here and do a lot of frac sand mining. And that's why they're having a conference here today, which was just coincidental. And so we want to tell them in no uncertain terms that we disagree with letting them continue. We have come to the conclusion, and some of us through bitter experience, that regulation of frac sand mining does not work, it will not work, it cannot work. And so from here on out, we're telling the industry we're only going to try to ban frac sand mining. This is the beginning of the end of frac sand mining. Um,
Tell Scott Walker that.
Scott Walker, this is the end of frac sand mining. How's that sound? Well, we need to tell a lot of these elected officials that. You know, it's really been a struggle. I've been in politics quite a bit, and I'm just shocked at how unresponsive elected officials are to what people think about this. You know, it's just shocking. So, anyhow, we're getting there. We're making progress, and the really big battle this summer is going on in Winona County, led by Land Stewardship Project and LSP. And over the next 2 months, their county board is having their planning department study this, and there'll be a vote sometime this summer on whether or not Winona County bans frac sand mining. So we are right in the middle of it, and we're going forward. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-organizer, Doug Nopar. But before I do, one of the reasons we're as far as we are today is in no small part because of the work of the Land Stewardship Project in southeastern Minnesota. For the last 35 years, LSP has led the fight on all kinds of issues that are important to farmers and rural residents. Doug doesn't know I'm saying this, or I was going to say this. And for the last 35 years, for all of that 35 years, much of that success from LSP has been possible because of the unrelenting efforts of my co-organizer, Doug Nopar.
Woo! Thank you. I wrote that pretty well. Welcome, everybody. Just wanted to point out a couple of things. For people who need more information about frac sand mining, we've got a literature table over there. Take whatever you want. Bob Hertz here with a couple incredible photos that he took. This one he took. This is the land we're trying to save, okay? This is what... Can we have some applause for this photo? And then in back here, when we get a break later after the rally's over, please look at this collage that he put together of some beautiful bluffscapes and about 8 frac sand mining shots of the future that we have if we're not able to protect ourselves against frac sand mining. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So in terms of today, just as a reminder, this is a peaceful, nonviolent act of resistance against the frac sand industry. We are not attempting to interact with them. It's to send a message that after today, here in La Crosse, they're here tomorrow too. After tomorrow, go home. Go back. And don't come back.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yes.
So let's see. What do we got left here? We're done. No, we're not done. All right, so we've got some great speakers. First speaker up, I'd like to call up Vince Reddy from St. Charles, Minnesota. He's on our board of directors for the Land Stewardship Project. Has been fighting frac sand mines in Saratoga Township for the last 5 years. Vince, where are you? There you are. All right, yay, Vince.
Thank you. My name's Vince Reddy. I was born on a farm, and I grew up on a farm. I live on a farm now. And that's who I am. I'm also a retired nurse. But you know my history. I think most of you could tell the history of the frac sand industry as well as I could. They showed up one day and they said, "We're really good people. We're going to be members of your community. We're going to improve your wasteland, that scrubland that's not good for anything." That's where we graze our cattle, by the way. "And we'll make the hills lower. Afterwards, everything will be better for you. We're going to bring up the tax base, this, and this." Everything that he said was a lie. It's not wasteland. What they take off is not overburden. It's fertile soil. We need to ban it. I have been working, spending a lot of time the last 3 or 4 years on this. He moved into my neighborhood out of the blue. He doesn't actually live there. He just came in, he wanted to take what was ours, our beautiful countryside. The history of the frac sand industry is written up pretty well. Stephanie Porter did this. There are 6 pages in here that list companies that violated the rules that they promised to follow. They raped your land and left. That's an abbreviation of it. None of them are in jail. I was telling Mr. Green Deer, if anybody here peed on the wall over there, you'd get arrested. No uncertain terms. For that, you would be arrested and jailed. And yet they're allowed to ruin our countryside scot-free. They're not from here, they're from Texas, they're from Alberta, other places. If anyone wants a copy of this, come and see me afterwards. I have a limited number of copies. They're also available online. Winona County is a pearl. Drive over there and look. We have trout streams, we have bluffs, we have schools, we have drinkable water, and we've raised children. We're going to ban it in Winona County. We're going to stay with it. The ban's legal. We hired an attorney to make this treatise up. This is a condensation of it. And again, if you're in a group and you want to think you could use that information, come and see me. I only have about 3 or 4 copies, but we'll get you some. My email address is written down on this white sheet here. Email me, we'll get it to you. It's legal and it's defensible. It's also common sense. You're allowed to protect your backyard. One thing I want to tell the person, I did tell him, but I want all of you to tell the people who come to your community and say, we're good for you, we're going to be your good neighbors. If it were so right for your profit to take my land, why don't you live next to the mine? They never live there. Never. I do. And you do. No one seriously proposes when they come to your community that strip mining sand is healthy and it's good for the community. No one says that. They use a few terms to mean they'll make some money, you'll donate your land and your future generations, and then they will leave. We got to stick together. Thanks very much for having me here today.
Thank you, Vince. All right, I'd now like to call up Nettie Rose now. She's a dairy farmer and Buffalo County supervisor that's been working on this for a number of years. Welcome, Nettie.
Well, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but I thank you all for coming. Yeah, I know, thanks. But I'm also representing a group in Buffalo County called the Buffalo County Defenders, and without them, we couldn't have done all that we did in Buffalo County to really stop a lot of the desecration of our land. My husband and I own a dairy called Rosenholm Dairy, and we also have Cow's Milk Compost. It's about 60 miles north of here in Buffalo County, actually in a valley called Garden Valley. And I wanted to read part of a letter that I sent to the paper when our neighbors applied for a permit to mine sand. It was right on our fence line. They wanted to mine 100 acres there, but they'd also gone together with neighbors, it's a story you've all heard, but to actually leased like 1,400 acres to a company. I don't think the letter really did too much good. In fact, I think people thought I was really crazy. But then a lot of them agreed with me, but they really also thought that it was inevitable. There was nothing they could do, so why pay to put an ad in the paper? Why do anything? But the idea that my neighbors would participate in this kind of destruction of a landscape was beyond my comprehension. I really couldn't understand it. And my husband and I spent thousands of dollars fighting against this permit. And then, like I said, I joined the Buffalo County Defenders. And we did slow a lot of the progress of these sand mines in Buffalo County. And then I did something I never, ever thought I would do. I ran for Buffalo County Board of Supervisors. But I do believe in government. I'm a liberal Democrat. I believe in government. I believe it works, but only if we pay attention and let the policymakers know that we are watching. Good government really encourages people to participate. So this is a part of the letter that I sent to the paper, because it really tells what I feel about frac sand mining. It was called An Open Letter to My Neighbors in the Wamedy Valley. If I can get it apart here. Everything's stuck together. Sorry. Okay. Our neighbors have started something that will benefit a few and have huge negative impact on the rest of us, the way the rest of us live our daily lives. They will sign away their rights to the non-metallic minerals on their farms or sell the land to wealthy investors from Texas, Oklahoma, Minnesota, etc. Huge companies that want this special sand, abundant in this part of the United States, to carry on the fracking process in other states where it is used to extract natural gas and oil. Simply put, we must work together to stop them. This is why these mines will tear apart, literally and figuratively, everything we love about living here. They will destroy whole hills, removing trees, topsoil, everything put in a pile like so many dead animals, and haul away the golden sand beneath. Reclamation is a joke. How can you put back a hill? Okay. They will say it's patriotic to sell our land, our lives for sand, for gas, for oil, for the new four-letter word jobs. They will say anything to get the sand, and some will believe them. Now is the time to decide if their vision of how we should live is the right one for all of us, if what we all will give up is worth the price, if making a few families wealthy is worth degrading so many others' lives. Now is the time to find all of the talented, thoughtful, intelligent people and use their expertise to shatter the myths about this new gold rush. Just a little bit more. Think long and hard about why you live here, about how extraordinary a place it is, how beautiful, and what a shame it would be to lose it. So last week I saw the film Dear President Obama about fracking. If you have a chance to see it, it's a great film. It really connects all of us. What we do with the sand here impacts all the United States, all those people with wells in their backyard with, methane, everything. It's really worth seeing. The film makes it clear that fracking should be a thing of the past, that we all need to move forward with renewable energy, and that all of us are responsible for pressing for a national energy policy that protects the land and water. Then the other thing I wanted to say is that I saw a TED Talk with Al Gore. You probably saw it recently about climate change, that he's very optimistic that we can do something. But he said two things that I thought were really interesting. He quoted end of a Wallace Stevens poem that said, after the final no comes yes. If we just keep doing it, it will happen. And the other thing he said was that the will to act is a renewable resource. And I thought that was great, because we can just keep doing this. And they might lose their money, their minds, but we can keep doing this.
Thank you so much. So the goals of the Alliance that we pulled together are 4 parts, okay? 1 is call on our public officials to enact a ban. 2, end fracking. 3, end government subsidies of the oil and gas industry. In 2012, it was $750 billion in the U.S. alone, according to the Natural Resources Defense Council. And the 4th is invest that money in renewable energy. I mean, just think about what our energy policy would be if we were like that.
Yeah, right.
Okay, next up, Tex Hawkins, come on up from Citizens Against Silica Mining. Where are you?
Citizens against silica mining. I'll tell you something we're not against. We're not against mining sand, like the Heartland Institute and the Koch-funded propagandists want us to believe. We're not against mining sand traditionally for bedding for cattle or for road construction. We're not against that. I'll tell you what we are against. We're against organizations coming into this area, telling lies, and taking our property and making it into a regular mess. And we don't want that anymore. So, to those of us living in the beautiful city of Winona, it was as if the frac sand mining and related fracking industries came in the dead of night, under cover of darkness, to steal our health, property values, and peace of mind. From one day to the next, a giant mountain of sand and blowing silica dust appeared on our waterfront, right beside the bridge, right down the street from our restored county courthouse, our beautiful courthouse, down the street from our beautiful new history center. Suddenly we had about 8 silica mining, washing, piling, loading, shipping facilities operating within our city limits. Suddenly open silica sand trains and explosive trains with frac cargo were holding up traffic, passing right by our schools and the campus at Winona State University. Suddenly our community airport needed to be expanded to accommodate corporate jets of fracking operatives that were coming into town from places like Texas to be extravagantly schmoozing local officials and property owners. Suddenly the floodplain forests around the airport were clear-cut and bulldozed into piles and burned or pushed into the surrounding wetlands for a longer runway. Suddenly we saw habitats fragmented, air and water contaminated right in town, just as the precious values that were being deliberately destroyed all across the driftless area. We now understand that we aren't alone in this plight, and we aren't alone in our efforts to restore sanity and a sustainable economy. Times have changed. When I flew over the Mississippi River in a commercial airliner a few years ago, I could see the damages inflicted on our beautiful forested bluffs bordering the river firsthand. The dark rounded bluffs, beautiful green color, separated by deep coulees and ravines, suggested to me a line of molars like your teeth in your jaw. From above, the deep white excavations for silica sand mining looked like giant cavities that had been drilled out by some monster dentist who had just walked away and left them to decay and fester and hurt forever. Aldo Leopold famously stated that a thing is right when it tends to preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community, and it's wrong when it tends otherwise. The effects of obsolete fossil industries like silica sand mining are destructive on so many levels that we need to stop it right now. In Winona, we could see that something had to be done and fast, so a group of citizen activists decided to make a stand physically blocking the entrance to the silica place where they were loading. They blocked the trucks where they were being loaded, filled with sand that was going to be parked along the roadside there to blow in the wind, uncovered, waiting transport in the dark of night. Some members of our group were arrested and later convicted for trespassing on the operator's driveway. To me, their act was truly patriotic. The rest of us carried our signs, marched to City Hall, and demonstrated and held a press conference. And since that time, Winona has been on alert. We're not going to allow more of this to happen. As publicity mounted, the sand mountain and loading operation were quietly moved to another location. Limits were eventually placed on the number of barges that could be loaded with silica in the harbor. A token air quality monitoring station was placed on top of the YMCA instead of adjacent to the sources at highest risk in the neighborhoods. But thanks to growing awareness and engagement of local citizens and increasingly responsible government officials, as well as the silica market decline, no frac sand has been loaded in Winona's harbor during the past year. As a proud member of CHASM, headquartered in Winona, and I live in Winona, right in the middle of town, so yeah, we're Winonans. We began as Winonans, but now we're driftless Aryans, and we're fighting. And also the Willdug chapter, the flagship chapter of the Isaac Walton League, they've joined in this fight. And I want to thank the Land Stewardship Project especially for taking the lead. And I'm happy to report great progress in the collaborative effort to make Winona County the first in our state to ban large-scale silica sand mining operations. Outdoor recreation, tourism, and natural resource conservation represent a $1 billion industry in this region. It sustains many thousands of jobs throughout the driftless area. It depends on protecting, not destroying, natural values. And I'd like to end with a quick story of Stuart and Kay Shaw, who had lived right close to a processing facility and had dust constantly blowing over their property. And Stuart had developed a terrible eye problem that was bothering him constantly as this dust blew through his yard and his house. And Kay was having terrible allergies, just awful allergies, and she could not get rid of this issue. They took a trip to Europe, and the two of them suddenly found that both their ailments were completely gone. They had no problem. Stuart had no problem with his eyes during their entire trip to Europe. And Kay's allergies completely cleaned up. She didn't have any problem with them. She cleared right up. And when they got right back and home again, first thing, Stuart had this terrible eye problem, came right back, and so did the allergies. This is just an anecdote, and it's not scientifically proven, but it's something in our community of people who really suffered as a result of this, and they suffer every day in our community because of what's happened. So we need to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore. We need to ban frac sand mining and get on with it.
All right.
All right, you ready for a chant?
Yeah.
Okay. All of that frack is making me hack. 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 You guys are good. Thank you so much. We got 120 people here on a Tuesday afternoon. Wow. All right. I want to bring up Layla Johnson from Viroqua, Wisconsin, from the Community Rights Groundwork. Come on up.
Hi everyone, my name is Layla. I'm here on behalf of, as a member of Community Rights Groundwork. We are a support organization that provides resources to communities looking to right locally enforceable bans on corporate projects or governmental trespass in their communities. We also offer support and resources to communities that wish to strengthen the practice of democracy. We're not that experienced in the practice of democracy. You may or may not realize democracy is not just voting once every couple of years or months, as the case may be. So I am really excited to be a part of this coalition to ban frac sand mining. I'm very pleased that the discussion is about banning and not about regulating. Regulations don't work, as we all know. Who here drove the speed limit to get here? Not me. Maybe a few of us, but you are outstanding citizens, and I'm not sure that the so-called corporate citizens care as much about the regulations as you do about the speed limit. And in my mind, it's not really about parts per million or microns or half-life of chemical flocculants or the distance from a grade school or the tons of sand removed. Those are all details. Those are all symptoms. Frac sand mining is a symptom of a larger problem, which I believe is a crisis in our democracy. What this is really about is about protecting our rights to health and welfare, our rights to sustainable livelihood, and our right to decide what happens where we live. If we continue to argue with industry and political and financial leaders on their terms, in the terms of scientific safety or financial capabilities, if we continue to argue about profits and these, things that can only be verified in a laboratory, we are playing into the hands of those people. We are giving our agency to them. We are allowing them to decide the terms of the decisions. For example, I've been talking to a woman in Illinois, and they're trying to stop a frac sand mine down there, and they filed a suit in court to deny the permit for a frac sand mine, and the judge said, no, this is denied, the permit will be granted because you can't prove that this mine is any worse than any existing mine. That's the logic that we're talking about. It's not human logic. It's not logic about the value of hills. It's not logic about the peace of the night. It's not values about, the quietness of a country road. We're talking about things that are beyond our ability to make decisions. And I'd like to actually say thank you to the people at this conference for identifying themselves as what they are, which is industry insiders. Thank you, Frac Sand Insiders. They're telling us a lot about how they think about themselves. They're inside the halls of power. They're inside the rooms where decisions get made. They're the insiders. And what are we? We're just outside on the sidewalk. We're not allowed in those rooms to make those decisions. That's how they think of us. We need to come to terms with that. Right. We know that they're outsiders. We know that we're the real insiders. They're the outsiders. They're willing to turn the places where we live into sacrifice zones. Look at the places around the world and in our own country where extractive practices are happening. Look at Appalachia. Look at the Iron Mountains in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Look at Pennsylvania and New York where fracking is happening. This is not a game. The outcomes of these practices are destructive and deadly, and the effects last for generations. This is not a back and forth, who's got the best speaker, what is Isaac Orr going to tell us. I read a wonderful article about him about how frac sand mining is going to help us all fall in love, because without the money that we will make from frac sand mining, we won't be able to take our future wife out on a date. Sick. I'd like to turn for a moment to the opening words of the state constitutions of both Wisconsin and Minneapolis. Oh, why did I say Minneapolis? Minnesota. Sorry. Apologies, Minnesotans. The first words of the Wisconsin State Constitution go along the lines of government is instituted for the protections of the rights of people. Among these rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the power of government derives its just power from the consent of the governed. That's us. That's our consent they're talking about. The Minnesota State Constitution opens with the object of government. Government is instituted for the security, benefit, and protection of the people, in whom all political power is inherent. Together with that political power is the right to alter, modify, or reform the government whenever it is required by the public good. Those are very powerful words. That is a very big promise. That is the object of our governments. We should keep that in mind when we're just talking to our elected officials, our representatives, whose job is not, as Governor Scott Walker seems to think, to tell us from on high what our communities can and cannot do vis-a-vis frac sand mining, but rather to represent our will, the will of the people.
Yeah.
This attitude whereby we beg and plead to our elected officials and ask them please to do what we would like is a gross misunderstanding of the inherent nature of our political power and the truth of democracy. Even if these words at the beginning of the constitutions didn't exist, the truth of our political power is still true. Those words are a symbol of an inherent reality. We are powerful. It is us that has the right to make these decisions. Right. I think it's true. I think it's really true. I learned yesterday that in Minnesota, The case seems to be that writing a ban on frac sand mining would be construed as legal under state law. I certainly hope that that remains the case. But as we know, there's a lot of industry insiders who are inside the halls of government who will work very diligently to make sure that those laws go away. And when laws are made by people who don't care much about justice, then the people who care about justice need to work to make laws that represent it. We can't rely on those others to represent us if they're not doing it. We need to make sure that our elected officials understand that if they start making laws that take away our right to decide what happens where we live, they will not be harming us, they will be delegitimizing themselves. Those laws will not be worthy of our consent, and we will not consent to them. We will instead write local laws that represent our will, that we can be proud to consent to, that do represent our dignity. I hope I've made clear that the legal reality of banning frac sand mining may be difficult. The laws that exist now that protect that right may change. But if they do, then the mandate for banning the frac sand mining and banning any other violation of our communities and our natural environment, the mandate will only be stronger. We will only continue to push against it. Because after all, if we can make laws at the local level about things that affect us, gathered in a body politic, then we will have achieved democracy, and environmental justice, social justice, financial justice will all be much more likely to happen because we, the people, will be making the decisions. And until such point, when insiders make decisions and force them upon us and dictate what will happen to our land and our future, then we live in imperialism and colonialism. And it is our right and our duty and my personal pride to fight against that with all my might. Thank you everyone for being here. It's very inspiring.
All right, Daniel, you want to come up and say 10 seconds, please? We got an offer of hospitality after the rally's over in about a half hour, 40 minutes. Go ahead.
This is an important issue. It's important that we stand together as a community, and as a community, we support each other. So I'm coming from the route now. We've got some coffee and water over there. I wouldn't like to take any back with me, so help yourselves. We got jazz music going on up there around 8 o'clock too. So thanks for coming.
Where is it? Thank you.
The route note's about 2 blocks up that way. Take a left. It'll be on the far side of the street.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you ready to sing another song? Let's welcome back Bob Bovee.
John Prine's song, Paradise, was written about what happened in Kentucky from the coal mining operations down there. It directly applies to what we're trying to fight here, the same sort of devastation. When I was a child, my family would travel down to western Kentucky where my parents were born. There's a backward old town that's often remembered so many times that my memories are worn. And Daddy wants to take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay. Oh, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Well, sometimes we travel right down the Green River to the abandoned old prison down by Adrie Hill, where the air smelled like snakes and we'd shoot with our pistols, but empty pop bottles was all that we'd kill. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Then the coal companies came with the world's largest shovel. They tortured the timber and stripped all the land. They dug for their coal till the land was forsaken, and they wrote it all down to the progress of man. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. When I die, let my ashes float down the Green River. Let my soul roll on up to the Rochester Dam. I'll be halfway to heaven with paradise awaiting, just 5 miles away from wherever I am. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. And just in case you missed it in the news, Peabody Coal went bankrupt a few weeks ago.
Thank you, Bob. We're real pleased that the Ho-Chunk Nation has endorsed the goals of the Alliance. They've really led some powerful resistance against the frac sand industry, and we're pleased to invite Bill Greendeer up to the front here.
Hello. I've been watching these sand mines come into this area for a long time. I watched them tear down trees. I watched them tear up the plants. All these things that are sacred to us. And I've been trying to fight these mines for quite a while now. Been doing a lot of studying. Actually went to the school over in Madison and learned about HIAs. You know, they actually gave me a survey. They sent it to me 2 days after deadline. And then they said they wouldn't accept my survey. So then they just sent me an HIA anyway. Said I was a stockholder. I don't understand that kind of thought process. You know, we grew up, a lot of us Ho-Chunks walk in the woods. And to watch the woods cry is really hard. To see the trees going down and piled up. To see all the plants that give us life destroyed. You know, it's really a hard thing to see. And I've been seeing this for a long time. We actually have our ceremonies still in the woods, where the trees, where the plants and the flowers and the bees and the deer, the birds. And, you know, to see all this destruction and for a mining company to come and knowingly flood our sacred ceremonial grounds. That was a really hard thing. Hard to walk in the woods back behind where I grew up and knowingly seeing Gurkey excavation flood our backwoods with silica. The silt just made our woods just white. And I worried about the plants and I worried about the animals. This is something that I've been watching a long time now. I've actually really just been trying to keep it all together and not get mad about this. It really upsets me though. I know that a lot of the times that I go out in the woods where I saw some animals running across from a wildfire. Now that field is now just a big old sand mine with a spur line around it. Hundreds and hundreds of rail cars. This sand is sacred to us. We use this as our altar. And then these other companies come in and they abuse this. To me, that's really disheartening. There's a lot of things out there that, you know, they could be feeding, like a acre of woods, a good acre of woods, feed 650 people. They could be feeding people instead of trying to take money and put sand in their pockets. This money, it doesn't do anybody any good. You know, it just makes them a little more happier in their own mind. They forget what is sacred. And they forget what is nice to have good, clean water. You know, they take this silica sand and all these chemicals. You know, it's like the cadmium, the chromium, the lead, the arsenic, and they're just going to push it right back in the hole to reclaim a mine. What is that? They're going to just poison our water systems. That's not good either. Who gave these guys all this permission? I didn't. I know that there's a lot of people there that think that the land is still sacred. I tried to talk to a miner over there. He walked away as fast as he could. I kind of walked a little faster, hobbling, and he actually almost ran. So he don't even want to talk to the people. I had a dream one night that these people were walking, they had dark eyes, white pupils, and they want to watch people die. They actually want to watch people die, and they're patting each other on the back saying, I can kill better. That's not right. There's no morals, there's nothing sacred to people like that. That's why I was trying to talk to that man, but didn't want to hear it. He was too busy looking dark, running up into the shadows. But I'm really happy that there's an alliance. There's an alliance that trying to keep this land sacred, keep this water sacred, keep it clean. You know, these sand mines are not a good thing. I've been watching it from the go. And, you know, it's nice to actually see just a mine once in a while, but to actually just tear up the earth, take the hills, to destroy other people's land and not even care. To me, that's really not sacred at all. So I think these guys need to go do some praying. You know, and then we should probably pray for them too. As much as I don't like it, we should pray for them. You know, I guess the best thing that we can do is stick together, keep going against these mines, ban all this stuff. They don't need to be destroying the earth anymore. We got too many other people like Enbridge destroying the land. And their chemicals, you know, that are cancer-causing agents. All these things that are going on. This year stuff needs to be clarified with their spirits, not with them. They need to talk to their spirits in order to make themselves better in their heart. They need to talk to the spirits to actually be thankful for living another day. There's something that we all need to do, and that's stick together. I really believe in that. You know, there's the sand now that comes here, out of here, but you know, I see those men that walk by there with the mining companies. They don't even look this way. They don't even have a heart. You know, I really feel bad for them. But what they're doing with the sand is they're destroying other communities with the fracking. You're seeing the people that are out in North Dakota, they're actually dying now. People are just really dying from the fracking. They're causing the earth to shake. Well, the spirits don't like that. You gotta keep praying for them. You gotta keep praying for these other companies that are just like thinking that they've got it made and they're just destroying everything. Yeah, she was just saying about, you know, don't forget about all these other tribes all over the world that are actually being extracted upon. And I'm just thinking, yeah, that's really right. And then the other thing is, we have to stick together on this here. This land is our land. You know, I've always been welcoming the non-natives. And I just know that best thing we can do is stick together and keep praying. Pray for the water, sing for the water, sing good praises for the land. And I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. We really wanted to be intentional about linking the frac sand mining to the whole issue of climate change, and we're real pleased that Kathy Hollander from Minneapolis with Minnesota350.org is here, so please welcome her. Kathy Hollander, come on up.
Hi everyone, glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I do want to explain what we're doing in Minnesota too, and next to our sister state here, Wisconsin. But in Minnesota 350, that 350 stands for parts per million of carbon dioxide that need to be, that's a safe threshold. We need to have no more than that in our atmosphere to keep the weather consistent. Do you know where we are today? Yeah, we're at like 400. I heard a couple 400. I heard 380. They're measuring it at 402, which is why our weather is becoming unstable. Our climate is warming faster than it needs to be. Young people know that. People who are our age who have benefited greatly from fossil fuels know it's time to start cleaning up. We've benefited greatly from fossil fuels, but we have to take responsibility to clean up the mess so our grandkids have a place to live. There's a 350 medicine as well, but we have a several-pronged attack for what we're doing to help resist fossil fuels and achieve some progress towards climate change. Our flagship team is a pipeline resistance team, and that should help you because we're trying to resist the Sandpiper pipeline with everything we've got. I've got some maps here that show they're proposing to run the Sandpiper pipeline through the best land we have, the cleanest water we have left in Minnesota. Most pristine water, greatest concentration of wetlands, most permeable soil, and right through the wild rice lakes that our native folks need for survival and sustenance. We are resisting this, northern Minnesota. We're also resisting another pipeline called Line 3 Replacement, which is not really a replacement. Both of these are with Enbridge Corporation. I just came from a public hearing yesterday. Citizens have won the right for the first ever environmental impact statement on pipelines in the state of Minnesota. All due respect to the community organization called Friends of the Headwaters, who really achieved that at the State of Appeals Court in Minnesota. And yesterday we were fighting for the scope of the environmental impact statement. We also have a strong divestment team, and one of our young people, Patty O'Keefe, was supposed to be here today to show you the inspiration the young people are having in Minnesota. Patty is absolutely leading the charge for divestment in Minnesota. But divestment all across the United States, over 400 college campuses, young people are saying to their colleges, divest from the top 200 fossil fuels. We need to move to a renewable and sustainable society. It's amazing. Over $3.4 trillion has been divested from the top fossil fuel companies. Unbelievable. Rockefeller Foundation, Gates Foundation. People are deciding to vote with their dollars, and they know that this worked in South Africa. That's pretty amazing. We've also started a corporate accountability team in Minnesota 350, where we're looking at banks that profit by investments in the fossil fuel industry, whether it's coal top mountain removal, whether it's financing these Enbridge pipelines, whether it's payday lending, whether it's not paying people full amounts that they need to work at their jobs. So we're going after U.S. Bank, and we're holding them accountable. I see there's a U.S. Bank here in town. There's also something pretty exciting, 350.org, of which Minnesota is just the most active state chapter. 350.org is starting a movement called Break Free from Fossil Fuels. This was announced at the Paris Climate Talks in December of 2015. But it's a movement worldwide, and this week and next week, there are 15 actions all over the world where ordinary people are choosing to stand up and say stop to the fossil fuels that continue to be extracted from our ground. There's been actions, I'm trying to remember where all the actions are, New Zealand, California, Philadelphia, Newcastle, in Australia. They had 1,500 people on the beach, 200 kayaks in the water, yachts, trying to block coal trains and ships from arriving into that port of Newcastle. They shut it down for 6 hours. Pretty amazing. It says, join a global wave of resistance to keep coal, oil, and gas in the ground. This May, peaceful mass actions will challenge the world's most dangerous fossil fuel projects and support a just transition to 100% renewable energy. Join us to keep fossil fuels where they belong. So I've got some brochures here too. We have buses going down to East Chicago this Saturday and Sunday for an action at the BP Whiting Refinery in Indiana. Remember BP of the Gulf Coast oil spill? Well, Minnesotans, Wisconsin people, Michigan people, Illinois people are all joining together. We're going to do kayaktivism on Lake Michigan, and we're going to have a peaceful march at the Whiting Park, and we're going to view the community that is heavily polluted with all the industrial messes that they have created in Whiting, Indiana, one of which is the BP Whiting Refinery. What we see with this additional extraction from the ground, whether it's tar sands oil or whether it's fracked oil from western North Dakota, is that the people who are really profiting are the refineries. And the refineries are trying to just maximize their profits. Historically, refineries have run at about 80 or 85% utilization. Lately, they've been trying to run at like 92 and 95% utilization. They're trying to extract every drop of profit that they profitably can, rather than just saying enough is enough. And we're saying no, people before profits. Keep it in the ground. If you'd like any of this information, I'll be around. Glad to join you here today.
Thank you. Give it up for Kathy. All right, everybody kind of do the little, get a little warm here. We got a couple more speakers. All right. Let's see, what's next? One of the great things about getting together is we meet people that we didn't know before. So make sure that before you leave today, you turn around and say hi to somebody you haven't met before. Over the last week, I've got the chance to meet Julie Delaterre, and she's our next speaker from, Sacred Water, Sacred Land. You got your sign too? All right, welcome Julie from Lafarge, Wisconsin.
All right, I got Bill and Deborah holding our sign here. Deborah's from the Shoshone tribe from out by the Rocky Mountains, and her people are suffering from the effects of industrial farming, which is not something we're talking about today, but it's totally tied in with the fossil fuel industry, because without those fossil fuels, they wouldn't be able to farm like that. So, hello everyone. Good to see all your faces standing in solidarity with all of you in the natural world. Thank you for being here. We're here because we care. We're here because we see what has to change. We're here because we have love in our hearts and compassion and empathy for what's going on the planet and with our communities. That's why we're standing here. It's so hard to experience a world of classism, sexism, corporatism, conflict, and hate. But it's also a world full of love, empathy, compassion, beauty, and abundance. This is the world we know and love, and this is the world we are here to heal, protect, and honor. I don't like the word resources. It objectifies all the gifts that sustain us. And the word management, let's replace it with harmoniously interacting. Let's harmoniously interact with the water, the air, the land, all of Earth's systems, and with each other. Please, let's do it in a respectful way. I'm fortunate to be part of a group called Sacred Water, Sacred Land, which is on its way to become a school of deep green learning in a place in the heart of the Kickapoo watershed. Sacred Water, Sacred Land supports the goal of the Alliance, represented here today, to ban frac sand mining and support actions to heal the planet and address climate chaos. But I'm going to deepen your understanding of what faces us humans in this planetary system. We're in a global epoch that rivals no other. We humans have covered the planet and affected every ecosystem. Our agricultural activities can be seen from space. Trees have been eliminated in key areas on the planet, and their absence is leading to further ecosystem collapse. Our oceans are at risk from CO2 acidification and warming. Methane, which is 23 times the warming capacity of CO2, is rising from the ocean floor. The permafrost is a byproduct of fossil fuel extraction. The Stockholm Resiliency Institute of Sweden represents the world's top scientists in numerous fields. I'll tie this all together. You're going to wonder why I'm going off sideways here. 9 planetary boundaries have been identified that, if crossed, will lead to permanent changes on this planet. And game over for us. Nutrient pollution, nitrogen and phosphorus. Stratospheric ozone depletion. Ocean acidification. Climate change, it's only one of these boundaries. Chemical pollution, land use and forest loss. Biodiversity, species loss, surface groundwater changes, and atmospheric aerosol loading. Well, those aerosols are the dust that comes off of frac sand mines. So climate change is just one of the boundaries that should not be crossed. Frac sand mining is integral to species loss, chemical pollution, freshwater overuse, atmospheric aerosol loading, and climate change. The fossil fuel industry is complicit in crossing all 9 boundaries. We need to change, and change quickly. My graduate studies at the Gaylord Nelson Institute at UW-Madison allowed me to broaden my thinking process and how to address this climate crisis in a holistic manner. The frac sand industry is part of the fossil fuel medusa that continues to trap us and lie to us about the possibilities and tools for future change. Frac sand mining is injected with a suite of chemicals. Thanks to the 2005 Halliburton loophole exempting it from the Clean Water Act, they can put it into the ground when they fracture the shale. Fracking is taking place in over 30 states. Fracking destroys the aquifers, kills the ecosystems, causes earthquakes, and creates a no-life zone, and we've heard about that here today. The Bakken field out west are examples of environmental racism and willful ecocide. Fracking for oil and producing frac sand is immoral. Tar sands extraction is immoral. To remain addicted to fossil fuels is immoral. Our current path will destroy what is left of our beautiful planet. I'm sorry, this is the bad news, folks. We gotta change. It may surprise you, but fossil fuels have been subsidized since 1917, with a big uptick in funding during the 80s in the Reagan administration. This was a time when the nation could have moved toward renewables, but the fossil fuel industry influence has been unrelenting. This federal support of killer fuels, according to one of my sources, is still gives $1 for renewables and $130 for fossil fuels, and they don't really support wind or geothermal. Recently, Walker has taken money from our energy efficiency programs here in Wisconsin and even made it so state employees couldn't use the term climate change. We are at a climate chaos ground zero right here in Wisconsin. Let's not forget the financiers of this fossil fuel debacle, the big banks and their investment arms, looking for pockets of profit that exists because the full cost of these extractive industries is never realized on the ecological or social balance sheet. Nature and the public bear the external costs of industry while corporations offshore their profits. I'm sure you all recognize BMO Harris Bank. Well, BMO Capital Investments is the #1 economic driver of mining interests in North America. BMO invests in mining all over the world, too. From gold mining that uses mercury and destroys rainforests, coltan mining in the Congo, an area of great unrest and massive homicides. By the way, coltan is used in your cell phones. Aluminum mining in India that displaces native mountain peoples and makes refugees, and the list goes on. If you bank at BMO Harris or any other large multinational bank, you may want to look at what they're investing in. State governments and agencies also grease the wheels of the frac sand industry. There's a man inside this conference today, he already spoke. His name is Jay Zambito. He's a geologist from the Wisconsin Geological Natural History Survey. He presented about his frac sand research. His agency, which is part of the UW Extension, has existed for over 100 years. He represents UW-Madison, which was created as a land-grant college. And the extension was created to serve the citizens of the state. That's where I got my graduate degree. What the heck? So I went in and tried to see where their money's coming from. Well, as of today, only 17% of UW-Madison's budget is from us. 44% is from private interests. Well, you know where that money's coming from? That's corporate money. I interpret this as money from business interests. So Mr. Zambito is employed by a land-grant college and is serving the frac sand industry. This is not my idea of higher education or community outreach. Why are our universities helping destroy our state? If you go to the Wisconsin Geological Natural History Survey, you can see all the mineral and water wealth in our state, right there on their website. A state-funded exploiter's website, making it easy to find whatever natural gift you may want to buy and sell on the world market. Guess what? They're currently finding all the freshwater springs in Wisconsin, anything that pumps over 110 gallons a minute, and they're putting it on their map. What does that mean? Bing! They're coming here for our fresh water. And that's because the rest of the world is running out of it. So people, protect the water in Wisconsin, they're going to come for it. And what about the Institute for Wisconsin Health Initiatives? I've got their little report right here. Bill mentioned this earlier. This is the health impact assessment of frac sand mining, page 7, executive summary. They say that the biggest effect on the people around frac sand mines is they have a little bit of anxiety. What a bunch of crap. They took it right out of the industry and they put it into that report. It was, they were called the Institute for Wisconsin Health Initiatives. They're based out of Madison. They're a nonprofit. They wrote this report for 4 counties and 1 tribe here in Wisconsin. They didn't mention silicosis. They didn't mention the amount of fresh water use. They didn't mention that poor communities take the brunt of this industry. They didn't mention that they go into unzoned townships and areas where people aren't prepared for them. They didn't mention the bribery and the massive amounts of money that go into these communities so that they can take all their resources and leave them with nothing, or should I say natural gifts, because I said that earlier. The fossil fuel industry reminds me of Cronus. I don't know if everybody here is familiar with him, the Greek god who eats his own kids. Sometimes I see that picture and he's taking a bite out of his son. He's the god of time, because you can't get rid of time. Well, these industries remind me of Cronus. This industry has become mighty through the support of fracking advocates, and if there's any Hillary supporters here, I'm sorry, but she supports fracking. There's also subsidies, mega banks investing money and covering risks. These banks cover the risks of these extractive industries. International trade agreements, state and federal agency enablement, and draconian climate deniers in the halls of Congress. So we got a lot of work to do, don't we? There's a system here that's been put together. It's entrenched. We didn't put it together, did we? So it's time for us to put together a different one. We will make changes in this system. Every day, more and more of us realize what needs to be done to heal the planet. We can ban frac sand mines. We can stop mega tar sands and Bakken oil carrying pipelines. Stop bomb trains. Protect our air, water, and land. We need to stick together and work for the common good. Reach out to those that would join us and those who seek answers. We need to inspire, inform, relate, and co-create a world that is beautiful, free of toxins, abundant, and healthy. Sacred Water, Sacred Land Institute provides education and outreach to individuals to help them develop tools for healing the earth and opportunities for imagining and co-creating a society based on renewable energy, healthy ecologies, and, most of all, social justice. I invite you to join the Sacred Water, Sacred Land Walkers this June 9th as we begin a walk from the bottom of the state near Delavan all the way up to Superior, along the Enbridge pipeline corridor. There's 4 pipes there already. They want to add more to raise awareness about the corridor expansion, which will make Wisconsin the biggest dirty oil corridor in the nation. I know we don't want that. Go to our Facebook page, Sacred Water, Sacred Land, or go to 33 Days on the Twin 66 if you want to join us. We got a lot of work to do. Thanks so much for being here. Peace to all of you.
Thank you so much. So I like to think that we're more than about words, we're also about action. And, oh wait, one more chant. How about this? Politicians, take a stand. The time is now to pass a ban. Politicians, take a stand. The time is now to pass a ban. Politicians, take a stand. The time is now to pass a ban. All right. So, if you don't have a song sheet or a sheet of the introductions and everything, I'd ask that you get one, or if people can help passing them around, because we're asking you over the next 16 hours to take a piece of action, okay? Would you please raise your hand if you're a resident of Winona County, Minnesota? Okay, so we got about 25 people here from Winona County. Okay. Everybody who lives in Winona County, we are asking you to call our county planning commissioner, our county planning director, Eric Evanson. Tell him you are here today, you're concerned about the industry's plans to expand frac sand mining, and that we need a ban. His number is right there. If you will please do that by noon tomorrow, that would be great. You can leave a message, you can call tonight, leave it on his machine, or call him tomorrow. How many of you are here from Minnesota but not from Winona County? Yeah. All right, we got a bunch of people that fit that description. We ask you to call Governor Dayton and give him the same message. Let him know this conference was happening, okay? Dayton privately says Southeast Minnesota should be off limits to frac sand mining. We need him to act, okay? How many people here are from Wisconsin? How about some verbal with that? Yeah! Okay, we're asking you to call State Senator Jennifer Schilling from La Crosse. We want to urge her to be stronger than she's been. Tell her what was going on here today. Are you willing to make those calls? Yeah! All right, 125 people making those calls will put a dent in this machine. All right, let's see, who else? There you are. All right, to close it out, welcome back, Ken Tschumper.
Okay. They wanted somebody to say something political at this event. So, for the closing comments, I want to talk about the two reasons we had this rally today. As I said earlier, would you believe it's just coincidence that we are here in opposition to frac sand mining at the same time the frac sand industry is having a national conference here? Coincidence? Well, in all honesty, it's not coincidence. We did this intentionally. We are here to tell the frac sand industry directly, you are in for the fight of your life. We are all done with strict regulation and making a distinction between industrial scale mining and some other kind. Mining is the most destructive land use activity that any local government permits under its zoning, and frac sand mining is perhaps the worst mining because it makes possible hydraulic fracking, which is the most extreme, idiotic, environmentally damaging method of producing an oil and gas that there is. It has taken some of us a long time to come to a realization that the only sound, reasonable, enforceable, environmentally defendable, economically feasible way for state and local government to deal with the real threat of frac sand mining, that the real threat of frac sand mining represents to our well-being, is to ban it. But that is where we are now and until we win. To all frac sand miners over there in the Radisson having a martini, we are here to tell you that we are not going to let up until you are out of business. So put that in your 10-year business plan. In 1962, an environmental science book by Rachel Carson entitled Silent Spring came out. It documented the detrimental effects on the environment, particularly on birds, of the indiscriminate use of pesticides. Carson accused the chemical industry of spreading disinformation and public officials of accepting industry claims unquestionably. Sounds a lot like frac sand mining and hydraulic fracking for oil and gas, doesn't it? Yeah! For those of you who are not baby boomers, you need to know that Silent Spring launched the modern environmental movement. Former governor and U.S. Senator from Wisconsin, Gaylord Nelson, started Earth Day in 1970. And in the 70s, our government passed the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and created the Environmental Protection Agency with a Democratic Congress and a Republican president, Richard Nixon, no less.
Yeah. Yes.
Gotta get the next page here. In the last few years, a new Rachel Carson, a very smart young Canadian writer, Naomi Klein, is taking up a similar spot in contemporary history, bringing the same kind of public awareness and grassroots activism to the fight against hydraulic fracking. Outlined in her book, This Changes Everything, and the same movie by the same name is a compelling indictment of hydraulic fracking, frac sand mining, continued reliance on fossil fuels, and indeed those parts of our economic system that promote these activities. And just like in the 1970s, her work has helped the world move to meeting the challenges of global climate change. Just 6 months ago at the Paris conference, 172 countries took a huge leap forward to save this planet from global warming caused by too much use of fossil fuels. The agreement isn't perfect, it probably doesn't go far enough, fast enough, but it's awesome, as my granddaughter would say. And so is President Obama's Clean Power Plan, and the fact that he is fighting for it every day is impressive in the face of unrelenting industry and political attacks. In case you haven't noticed, there's a presidential election this year. There are 3 very interesting candidates left in the running. One candidate has mobilized millions of Americans in a grassroots movement never anticipated by political pundits. He says, "We need a political revolution in this country." I agree completely. How about you? Another candidate says America is going to start winning again and we can make America great again. Well, I sort of agree, but it's not going to be in the way he thinks it's going to be. The third candidate is not so flamboyant. She says America has always been great. I tend to agree with her. I think we're going to rise to the challenge of addressing climate change. Our late Minnesota Senator Paul Wellstone, who is arguably the Bernie Sanders of the U.S. Senate in the 1990s, used to say something like this: "Politics is about addressing the real problems of ordinary people in their everyday lives." In other words, politics should be relevant to what's going on in your life. If you're a South Sea Islander living a foot above sea level, what the world does to address climate change is pretty relevant to your life, don't you think? If you're a West Virginia coal miner, how we move away from coal to solar energy is going to be pretty relevant in your life and in your income. If you live next to a proposed frac sand mine in Houston County or Winona County, or if you live on a farm in Pennsylvania and when you turn on the tap and hold a match to it, it starts on fire, what your state and local government is doing is pretty relevant to your life. Every week I run into people who are pessimistic about the future. They feel that climate change has gone too far, that we can't muster the political will to do what we need to do as a global community. The second reason for this rally is to say to you, to convince you, don't be pessimistic. Let's make America great again, in the right way, not the wrong way, through unity of purpose, through stopping and reversing climate change, through ending hydraulic fracking, the worst way to produce oil and gas, and through rewriting our energy future. We are a great country. We are winning. We won in Paris. We win with the Clean Power Plan. In thousands of ways, we are addressing climate change, reducing our fossil fuels, and developing renewable energy. Last fall, polling showed that 70 to 80% of the American public wants climate change dealt with and addressed, including 60% of GOP voters. What we are doing today is not reality TV show. What we are doing today is not a reality TV show. This is reality. Be optimistic, people. Believe in yourselves. Believe in the people around you, the people here today. Believe in our ability to ban frac sand mining, to ban hydraulic fracking. We are going to win. America is going to win. We are going to make America great again. We are going to ban frac sand mining.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Get to know one another. Hang out, have some coffee, go up to the root note. Thanks so much for being here.